happening, guys? Chael Sonnen here, and you need to know when you're the greatest podcast in the world today, they got a name for you. They don't call you a great podcast. They call you the Gentleman Podcast. Beat that if you can.
Welcome, everybody, to the most up-and-coming podcast this side of the Western Hemisphere. Gary, Pete, Brian, Eddie. We are the Gentlemen.
This is the podcast.
Before we start, like always, remember to like, follow, and to subscribe on all our social media platforms. This week is going to be a little bit different. We're going to debut a couple of things. But first, we're going to talk about this past weekend's UFC card, a little bit of the baseball news, last night's documentary on ESPN, and we're going to debut the Gentleman Power Rankings. We're going to go into detail about that later, and also, like always, the 12-4. So, Brian, start it off.
So this past weekend, another UFC card, another great card, and another card that a lot of people said, oh, it's not stacked enough, blah, blah, blah. Listen, I feel like it's always been this way, but definitely since we started doing this podcast, every card that's supposedly underhyped or it's not, people aren't talking about it enough, they always over-deliver. I mean, this is another example of that. I don't want to talk about every single fight in the card, but we're going to talk about the ones that need to be mentioned.
Well, before we get into that, I just want to say it was a record-breaking night.
It was a record-breaking night before we got to the main card.
Yeah.
How many knockouts? First-round knockouts.
Well, I believe there was 3 knockouts that were less than a minute. 3 different fights. And I think they were all in a row, too, if I'm not mistaken, in the prelims.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I'm looking at it right now. 59 seconds, 32 seconds, and 22 seconds.
Jeez.
Absolutely incredible.
That's fucking insane, man.
Listen, I tell you, these guys all have something to prove, guys and girls. And, this is the time to shine right now. Everyone, no sports are going on yet. This is still what everyone's watching. They're showing why this is one of the greatest sports in the world. On the main card, I just wanted to talk about a few fights. Let's get right into meat and potatoes, the co-main event, which is really what a lot of people thought should have been the main event. Yeah, I know Pete definitely has a couple things he wants to say about this fight. We had Marvin Vettori and Carl Roberson. A lot of bad blood going into this fight. There was a lot of animosity between the two. A couple of missed weights, pulling out of the fights. But this fight definitely delivered. I know, Pete, you want to talk about it, so I'll give you the floor right now. Go for it.
Well, all I'm going to say is you mess with the Italian, you get the horn. You get the horn, bro. But, yeah, complete unprofessionalism by Carl Roberson, pulling out of the fight two, three times, missing weight. Even before the fight on Saturday, he missed weight by 6 pounds. Come on, man. Making weight is half of your job. The other half is fighting. So if you can't do half of your job, you really have to reassess your career choice. On another note, you were completely outclassed by Marvin Vettori. Vettori deserves a top 10 opponent going forward. It wasn't even a fair or close fight. Marvin had no problem controlling him on the ground, locking in submissions, and just ultimately just controlling the fight and dominating the fight. So props to Marvin. You finally got paid. You finally got this win, and hopefully you get a nice big opponent and a nice big payday after this.
Yeah, I was really happy to see him, win that fight. And you could tell it was almost like a movie, how amped up he was. It was like watching Rocky, and he was going in there and he put it all out there. And like you said, he completely outclassed him. His submission game is very, very underrated. Actually, it's very good.
It is.
But he has good stand-up too. Carl Roberson, he's kickboxing. I think he's going to move up in weight class.
He has to.
I think he's done. I think he's done with this weight class. He can't do it. So,
and people forget Marvin had a good fight against Israel Adesanya.
Yeah.
He hung in there for the entire fight. It was a close fight. So he's not a bum, man. He's a top level fighter, and I'm very excited.
He has to be more consistent.
Yeah, I'm glad that he's going to be on a lot of people's radars now because he deserves it.
He had a great post-fight press conference also. He needs to be on pay-per-view so he can really express himself after the post-fight press conference.
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything. They bleeped out everything.
This was his post-fight conference, right?
Pile the flag up.
Yeah. So that's pretty much what you heard. But we got the point. The main event, Jessica and Cynthia Calvillo. I had a feeling this was going to happen. I like Jessica Ai. I always did. But she's going to be a gatekeeper. Unfortunately, I feel that way. She's very good, but I don't think she's ever going to be the best. Cynthia is a beast. I've always said that. Mm-hmm. She made her weight her flyweight debut.
She jumped up. Yeah.
Yeah. This is big. She has some competition now. Caitlin Chogagian, who just fought recently against Shevchenko. That's a matchup that we could be seeing soon. But I mean, listen,
called her out, right?
Yeah, but Cynthia just beat the number one.
Yeah. She's right in the mix. It's a Gilbert Burns situation.
Yeah, I mean, she jumped right into that weight class and she beat the number one fighter. So props to her. I see big things for her. I mean, she's very, very talented. She's with alpha males for a long time. She's been training with them. She's a very good fighter.
She looked good. She looked good as the fight went on. She got stronger and better. That was a really impressive part of that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, clearly Jessica Ai suffered from the weight cut, the day prior. She said she had no energy. She almost passed out on the scale. But props to Cynthia. She looked really good. She obviously didn't have to cut any weight for this fight. She focused just on the fight itself. And she's like a little pit bull, man. She keeps coming at you. She never gives up the pressure. So she has a lot of potential.
Very strong, very tough. I see a lot. I see big things in her future, honestly.
She's going to get a top contender fight.
I think so.
She should.
I definitely think so. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it for this card. And I wanted to touch on it at least. If you guys have anything else you want to say.
It was an exciting card. The small octagon theory really is coming into play.
I was going to say that.
It's very much real, man. It's very much real, man.
Dana White says no. I understand why he's saying no, but it's
listen, prove me wrong.
Dana's just pulling that same excuse the way the commissioner of baseball said the balls aren't juiced at all, this and that. Come on, man. Just
that's a good point, Eddie. That's a really good point.
Stop questioning our intelligence with things like this, man. Like,
are you going a little 90 Seconds of Fire on Dana White right now?
No. I'm just stating, man. That's all I'm doing, man.
What do you guys think it is, though? Why do you think we're getting better fights and more finishes with the small cage?
No, I agree with Eddie. It's the smaller cage. There's less room for people to move around, use footwork, use movement, or run away from the fighter. Some people like to run away. So you're basically in a smaller cage with a dangerous fighter, and there's going to be more contact being made between the fighters. That's it.
That's it. It's very simple. I mean, that's the simple explanation, and I also think there's more of a psychology thing to it. If you're in a small, like you said, a smaller space, you feel like you're obligated to interact with this person now.
I agree with you, Brian.
It's more claustrophobic, so I like it personally. I think it's great. I mean, was this the size octagon that they were using in like WEC?
Anyone know? I don't know about that. This was the size octagon they would use at like
maybe
tough finale. Yeah, the tough finales
series. I know that, but
I don't know about the tough finales. I know in the tough show, the tough show.
At the tough finales, I always remember that was a thing when they would do it at those little casino venues.
Yeah.
At like the Hard Rock, they would always say that they would have the smaller cage. Like when DJ Penn fought Jen Spolver for the tough 5 finale, I remember them specifically mentioning that I was in the smaller cage.
Well, they did the statistics already, and there's like, I don't know, 90% more finishes in the smaller cage than there is in the bigger cage. So clearly there's a correlation there, just like the juice balls last year. There was a correlation with that too. So in baseball, so
I'm down for it. Speaking of juice, we had a little documentary last night. The Mark McGwire Sammy Sosa one.
Wait, hold on. Before we that was a very good segue, Gary. I like that segue that you just did. But before we move on real
impressive right there.
Before we move on real quick, I don't know how I feel about heavyweights fighting in this smaller cage. There's such big fighters. It looks a little weird. What do you think, Bri?
That's your weight class, Bri.
I know. I love the big boys. I like it, though. I want to see what happens. Is the height of the cage and the integrity of it, the strength of it, any different? I mean,
I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It's weird having two 6'5" guys, 275 pounds fighting against each other in a tiny little fucking cage.
Also, it makes them engaged, So
yeah, I think it's going to be great. We're going to find out as soon as this Saturday. Curtis Blades and Alexander Volkov.
We'll talk about that fight.
Yeah, our next episode, we're going to break that down. It's going to be a great card, great fight. But I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to prove to be that it's true that they're going to interact more.
And with their styles, it's going to see who it benefits. We'll talk about that more on Wednesday.
Yeah, I'm excited. I mean, and neither of those guys are boring to begin with, so it's just going to be great.
Yeah.
And Marvin Vettori, we want you on the podcast.
Yes, Marvin.
Yes.
We want you.
Yeah.
Forza Italia. All right, Gary, back to your segue.
Well, speaking of, this doesn't even come in good here, but we had a documentary last night. For us, it was exciting to look forward to because they talked about the 90s baseball. It was about Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. I have mixed feelings about the documentary. On one hand, I loved hearing just watching a documentary about baseball. I love documentaries in general. Loved the documentary about that home run race as a kid, remembering putting on SportsCenter. And I told the guys this. I remember putting on SportsCenter, and I remember every week it'd be Griffey, McGwire, and Griffey, and then June came, and Sosa came, and Griffey.
Yeah.
I like Griffey. He was phased out. But it was a good documentary. I have 2 complaints. Number one, we didn't talk about steroids enough.
How is that a complaint? How is that a bad thing?
Wait, just hear me out. Hear me out. We didn't talk about steroids enough because it was just a known thing. It's like, yeah, it's like a known thing that everybody knew about it. So like, bring it up, and the way they brought it up, just throwing Barry Bonds under the bus was just not a good thing. And I feel like it was more of a Mark McGwire documentary. I feel like they could have mentioned Sosa a little bit more.
Well, McGwire won the race, Gary, so you focus more on the winner than the loser.
I know, but the race was because of the 2 of them. You built it up about the 2 of them.
Exactly. They thrived off of each other that one summer.
And Sammy Sosa hit 20 homers in June. And like I said, leapfrog Griffey and started pushing McGwire, and they just put like, oh, yeah, by the way. Like, kind of like, sorry, by the way, Sosa hit.
Yeah, but Gary, I have a little rebuttal for you. I mean, I didn't watch this documentary, but if that's your complaint, I didn't hear you complaining that The Last Dance was mostly about Michael. It's about the whole team, and they're go for the championship.
Bang, bang.
I'm just saying, I got to play devil's advocate here because I didn't watch the documentary.
Okay, true, but they said put Michael Jordan in 98 Bulls Last Dance, right? This was built up as the 2 of them together, Sosa and McGwire.
But the show is called The Last Dance. It's not called Michael Jordan's Last Dance.
I understand that, but it was known it was about Last Dance because it was Michael Jordan's list.
I get it. I know Michael Jordan's the biggest star. I get it. I guess I'm just busting chops, but I want
No, but that's a good thing. That I understand what you're saying, but I just think a little bit more Sammy Sosa, a little bit more.
Gotcha.
That's
What exactly did they just focus on as far as Sosa? Like,
well,
I understand the whole home run race and all that.
Before we get into the nitty gritty, I just want to say that it was great just watching something about baseball, considering that we don't have any baseball going on right now. So, it actually brought back a lot of nostalgia, a lot of emotions, and a lot of good memories about when baseball used to be fun. And I feel like that 98 season all around was probably the best season the MLB has ever had in their history. Between that home run chase, the excitement from that, the Yankees winning 114 games that season, the playoffs. It was the peak of baseball, the prime of baseball. Everyone was just tuning in to watch these 2 guys hit home runs, and they had no idea what baseball was. So it was
coming
really
off the 94.
Yeah.
Love the old batting practice jerseys, by the way, also.
Especially considering how they kept mentioning that they really needed to win back the fans after the 94 strike happened. Baseball lost half of their fan base, maybe even more after 94 because of the bullshit between the owners and the players. Sound familiar, guys? But
as you say,
it always repeats itself, brother.
As you said, that Manfred said MLB season is not 100%, so we're just repeating.
Gary, just keep adding fucking salt to the wound.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man.
I 2 things I want to say. I think that they should make there's 3 documentaries out of this. They should make.
Yeah.
A Griffey one, which I think
it's coming out Sunday.
Sunday is the Griffey documentary. Griffey did this all clean, and he hit all these homers. Griffey, if he didn't get hurt, would be considered the GOAT.
Arguably the greatest swing of all time.
I think a Barry Bonds documentary is in order. That I think should do. And I just think about that whole era. Like
Steroid era.
I think it would be a positive, because this is what annoyed me, was they spoke about it briefly, how it wasn't illegal.
That's what I'm saying, Gary.
So it wasn't illegal. So why not bring it up to light more and help your case for McGwire and Sosa? Like, it wasn't illegal. Like, what would it, like,
at the time? Yeah. At the time, there was no rules that said you can't take these performance-enhancing supplements. Nothing by the commissioner, nothing by the league.
McGwire had it in his locker.
McGwire had it showing in his locker. Everyone knew he was taking it. It wasn't illegal. So
and why guys taking it?
Why are these guys getting banished for this when they weren't breaking any rules? 99% of the league were all doing it. You know, not all of them succeeded, though. I mean, it's not like steroids automatically make you the best hitter in baseball. You have to have talent. You need to have dedication. You need to work at the craft. It's not just steroids turns you into a 70 home run hitter. Let's be real here. If that was the case, then we would all fucking be 70 home run hitters right now.
Yeah, they may make you hit the ball further, but they're not going to make you a better hitter. There's a lot more skill involved.
Look at Barry
and
Bonds.
eye coordination, dude. Like, come on, man.
It's a skill.
Barry Bonds would have been a Hall of Fame without steroids. It just
He should be in the Hall of Fame.
I think they all would have been
So
Hall
Pete
of
Rose
Famers without steroids.
Yeah, Pete Rose.
You know, all it's doing for you basically is helping you heal your muscles faster. You know, these guys play 162 games. They get injuries. They get dinged up. You know, they're sore after every game, and they have to go out there the next afternoon, the next morning, and play again. That's what the steroids are doing. They're helping their muscles recover faster. You feel less soreness.
Like, Clemens and Bonds would have been, if you look at when they took steroids, they were Hall of Famers before that. So those guys should be in automatically. So, but
in Clemens' case, did he start using it when he got traded to Toronto?
It was more so when he went to Houston. I mean, I kind of think it was when he was in the Toronto Yankee years, but it was more when he was in Houston. But let's talk about a couple of guys. McGwire, Hall of Famer, yes or no?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree. Sosa, Hall of Famer, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I say no.
Bias.
No, I don't.
Is it because he bleached his skin?
No. By the way, Sammy Sosa.
Ridiculous, man.
I don't think you're a Hall of Famer, but you were so positive in your interviews, even afterwards. You was in your Scott Van Pelt interview, a positive, and you had the weirdest painting behind you I've ever seen. But I don't think he was a Hall of Famer. Just don't think so.
I'm telling you, times changed when he got caught for the cork bat, man.
That was in 2003, right?
Yeah.
It was all downhill from there, man.
It was great to see how they thrived off each other that season. The chemistry between Sosa and McGwire, even though they were on the two rivalry teams, you know, the Cardinals and the Cubs, they were always giving each other props, calling each other the best hitter in the game, giving each other hugs, high fives. It was just they went through it together.
Yeah, they knew what the other one was going through, which was really.
And they were both in the middle of a playoff race too, man.
Well,
not so much the Cardinals.
Yeah, the Cubs were the ones. Which is why Sosa won the MVP. McGwire won the race, but Sosa won the MVP that year.
Yeah.
There you go.
Because his team made the playoffs.
That's crazy though. How you can have a player who hits 70 home runs and you don't even make the playoffs? Like.
Yeah. The Cardinals weren't that great that year, but I do think it was great to see. I do think that we need more documentaries about that era for these guys to get to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I think all of these guys should have documentaries. And I said to you guys last night that they kind of did Bonds dirty. You know, they just mentioned him very briefly at the end, and then they linked him to all the steroid allegations, and then they just stopped talking about him.
I'm going to defend Barry Bonds.
Unless they're planning on doing a separate documentary for Bonds, which I 100% think they should, then I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Listen, people say all these bad things about Bonds. I'm going to defend Bonds, which 13-year-old Gary would never thought that I would be doing this because I wasn't crazy about Bonds when I was younger. But when you get older.
Wow, really? I was always a Bonds guy, man.
Bonds was great, but you just hear stories he was an asshole. But when you grow up and you actually look into it.
Yeah.
Number one, Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he started taking the stuff. In the Pirates, he's a 40-40 guy. So he was right then and there. Bonds took this stuff, looking at Sosa and McGwire, and seeing, I'm just as good as these guys. These guys are taking these things to up their game. Why can't I? It goes back to the argument. Everybody else is doing it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
So, and also, Bonds should not be blackballed from baseball the way he is. If McGwire could get stuff, why isn't Bonds? That's just another topic. But
And going back to Bonds, man, he did a pretty good job as the Marlins hitting coach a few years back, man.
yeah, he did. Bonds. You hear Bonds talk hitting. I think he knows hitting. Like you hear him talk hitting, he's just a really good hitting coach. Like he knows what he's talking about.
Speaking of being blackballed, I was shocked to hear that Sammy Sosa has been blackballed by the Cubs. He hasn't been back to Wrigley in over 10 years.
Yeah, that's not right.
It's a
right.
disgrace. It's a disgrace, man.
I know McGwire and the Cardinals, they already made amends. They elected him to the Cardinals Hall of Fame, but why can't the Cubs do that with Sosa?
Yeah, and make amends about what? Use steroids.
Yeah, exactly.
Bartman got forgiven by Chicago.
Ridiculous. Bartman gets forgiven before Sammy Sosa, man.
Exactly. So,
and Gary, going back to what you said about Sosa not being a Hall of Famer, you forget to mention that he was a 30-30 hitter as well. He stole 30 bases, hit over 30 home runs. He has over 600 career home runs. Come on, Gary, that's Hall of Fame, man.
I know.
Very underrated in a Texas Rangers uniform, man. Very underrated.
Sosa?
Yeah, man.
I mean,
or was it the White Sox? Hold up, wait.
He wasn't the Rangers for the Cubs, but he made his meat and potatoes on the Cubs. I don't know.
Did he have a couple years in the White Sox?
He was a couple of years on the White Sox, yeah, but he wasn't very good. That was in the beginning of his career. He was just a scrappy, speedy player in the beginning.
I think these guys should get in. That's the bottom line of it. Hopefully they do. Clemens and Bonds, I think, have two best shots. And it would open the door for A-Rod, because A-Rod is not going to get in at this rate either. So.
Bonds needs to be in the Hall of Fame. McGwire needs to be. Sosa needs to be. A-Rod and Clemens both need to be as well.
Roger Clemens, 100%, man.
And Gary Sheffield.
No, I don't know about that. But
Sheffield has a case.
Throw some names out there, Gary. Let's hear them. Come on.
Rafael Palmeiro.
No.
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
No, I don't think so either.
No.
He was Gold Glover, over 3,000 hits, man.
Just because I compare you to Rafael Palmeiro.
Jason Giambi.
Yeah, I was going to say Giambi.
No.
I think just for the fact that he walked out to the Wolfpack theme song, he should be in.
He's in our Hall of Fame.
He's in my Hall of Fame. Absolutely.
That's a no for me, dog.
No, yeah, that's a no for me. When
All
we
right,
saw the Gentleman podcast. Andy Pettit.
Borderline.
Very borderline. I'm leaning towards no.
I want to say yes.
I'm a little biased because obviously
I love Pettit.
It's
hard to put bias, aside.
His playoff numbers, though, man.
If Kurt Schilling gets in the Hall of Fame, it's because of what he did in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Pettit was elite in the playoffs, but he was never considered like a true ace, like a number one starter. He was always like the best number 2 starter in the league, but he was never an ace.
You can look at the career overall.
When you think of Hall of Fame pitchers, you think of Pedro Martinez, Roger Clemens. You think of players like that. Yeah. I'm talking starting pitchers. Pettit's like on that second tier, just below that first tier.
Whose career would you rather have? Andy Pettit's career or Mike Mussina's career?
Well, Moose was more of an ace in the regular season, but Pettit was more an ace. If you're going to start out, right?
Damn, that's a good one. That's a good one, though, man.
If you're going to start out, and I give you both these careers, right? And you know everything that's going to happen.
Moose never won a World Series, right?
That was the only thing. That was the only blemish on his.
So I got to go with Pettit then, 100%.
Yeah, out of those two.
And Moose is a Hall of Famer, and Pettit's not. So
listen, I love Moose. He was a probably one of the most underrated pitchers in the steroid era. I'll go out and say that.
Well, that's why he was impressive with because he won 300 games in the steroid era. So if we're going to give this guy credit,
you're right, Gary. You're right. He did this in the steroid era, and he did it his entire career in the AL East.
Mm-hmm.
He was facing the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Blue Jays, all of them in the AL East his entire career. And he dominated the Red Sox when he was a Yankee.
Mm-hmm. So, okay.
He'd have a perfect game on his resume if it wasn't for
Gary.
Manny Ramirez, Hall of Famer.
Manny?
No.
I say yes.
I got to look at his stats. I don't remember what his stats were.
He's got some numbers, man.
I was more scared of Manny than any other hitter I've ever seen.
I agree. Manny was clutch against
Manny was Hall of Fame. Ortiz doesn't get those clutch hits without Manny because Manny was the guy Yankees were more afraid of.
Yeah. It's just Manny being Manny.
Yeah. And the one Red Sox that I should really hate that at the end I just liked him. Eddie's boy, Albert Bell, Hall of Famer.
No. The asshole in him, man, was just too much, man.
Brady Anderson, Hall of Famer.
Brady Anderson. I'll take a sip of my punch for that.
I watched Home Run Derby yesterday. I think it was 97. 97? No. Yeah, 97. And they were talking about Brady Anderson. And like, yeah, he had 20 career homers, but he's got 30 at the All-Star break. It's just like, all right, come on, guys. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Makes you think. Well, it makes you think, man. Like
Gary Sheffield, Brian brought him up. Is he a Hall of Fame?
No.
Unfortunately, I want him to be, but I don't think he'll ever get in.
He had an underrated career, Gary Sheffield. If you really do a deep
He had
dive,
an underrated batting stance.
Yes, you do a deep dive in Gary Sheffield's career. Very underrated career. He won a batting title.
And not a bad arm in right field, man.
He was my favorite
Incredible
player.
arm.
He was my favorite player.
Won a World Series with the Marlins.
That's right.
I loved him on the Yankees.
Yeah. They should have signed Vladdy. They would have won the World Series if they signed Vladdy. That's the story.
Even though he wanted to kill Bubba Crosby that one time.
that was so.
Though, man.
Bubba Crosby, would love to have you on the pod. No, I'm just kidding.
No. Let's have Bubba on.
Don't listen to him, Bubba. Come on, man. Don't listen to him.
But it was, just to sum it up, it's been fun. It was fun looking back at that era. As Yankee fans, we love that era because the Yankees dominated it. But it was fun just looking back at all the.
Speaking of documentaries, Gary, they should do a documentary on the Yankee season that year, 30 for 30. Do they have one about that already or not?
The Yankees have their own. So.
Yeah, but they should do one like they did last night. Everyone talks about McGwire and Sosa, but they don't talk about the Yankees completely dominating baseball that year.
Well, MLB has like those MLB seasons documentaries where they talk about a season. They have that the 98 one they've done. So.
Oh yeah.
But they should go more in depth about that. I think they should do one on that era, like how they just should do like a couple part series on that era. But
I agree, that would be sick, like a 6-episode series on the steroid era.
Yeah, even if MLB Network does it, because there's so much to talk about. Like the Yankees,
it really is though, man. They really is.
Yankees, Griffey's prime. You got Pedro, A-Rod. It was just so awesome.
You know, when they talk about the Attitude Era being the best era in wrestling, the steroid era was the best era in baseball.
Oh, man.
And it's funny, they happen at the same time.
Wow, man. Wow.
And the best era in basketball was the 90s also, that peak. So,
well, and I was just saying this last night. Everything was better in the 90s, man.
Yeah. 90s is my favorite era. The music, the styles, the sports, everything.
How awesome was it looking
TV
at
shows, movies?
Those batting practice jerseys
the
in the
culture.
90s. It was awesome. But
Gary, I got one for you. Kevin Youkilis, Hall of Fame?
No.
This is a joke.
He came up in the news the other day. I forgot why.
He did.
I'll never forgive the Yankees for signing him.
What
Take it easy.
a waste, man.
But I just want to say this. We talk about how good baseball was. I think baseball was just about to hit another run before this all happened. It just makes everything more depressing. But we're gonna stay positive. We're gonna stay positive with the talk today. The next episode, I'm sure we're gonna really get into all the stuff that's going on. But we're gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna debut the Gentleman's Power Rankings right after this. All right, guys, welcome back. So what we're going to start to debut now is the Gentleman's Power Rankings. Now, what's coming back, everybody loves a good power ranking. So what we're going to do is this. Every week, we're all going to come up with our own power rankings for each sport. This week, we're going to all pick a sport, and we're going to give like a little bit of a taste of what you're going to see. So for when the season gets going, we're all going to have one for each sport. So you can get our opinion for every sport, but just for this week, we're all going to separate it. Eddie, start off with the NBA power rankings.
Let's do it, baby. All right. I mean, my list of 5 is pretty self-explanatory. My list, I literally have one team coming out of the East as far as a top contender this is concerned. At number 5, I got the LA Clippers, of course, being the obvious with the whole Paul George and Kawhi Leonard team up right there. I think Pat Bev is going to come back pretty healthy and very determined. So just watch out for these guys, man. At number 4, I got the Houston Rockets. I'm not a big fan of the Houston Rockets. Really not a big fan of James Harden because Lord knows the guy travels at least 17 times in a game. But that's never mind the point. I mean, he's used his whole time during the quarantine to drop, I believe, about 15 to 17 pounds. And he's been training rigorously as well, too. So watch out for Harden and Westbrook to come out strong for this one. At number 3, I got the Boston Celtics. Anybody who – yeah, I know. This is a Knicks fan speaking too, man. Like, terrible. But Boston, man, they've been solid. It really doesn't matter who runs the point guard in Boston nowadays, now being Kemba Walker especially, and he's pretty much hit every single stride since signing
Kemba's the man.
Big max contract. I know you're a big UConn kind of guy, Pete.
Let's go.
That's right. But I got the Boston Celtics at number 3. At number 2, I got LeBron and them boys.
Them boys.
I got the LA Lakers as the number 2 to contend. The man is more determined than ever. I mean, I've never been a fan of his. I mean, we all know that over
That's
here.
an understatement.
Yeah, but I mean, LeBron, he just seems to be pretty determined this time around. I mean, considering all things that are happening around the globe in our country right now, you know, dust off the rust and just get back to work, fellas, man. That's all his whole mentality throughout this whole thing. And at number 1, I got Giannis and them boys from Milwaukee. The Milwaukee Bucks, number 1, man. They're honestly the most complete team throughout, man. Giannis is just on another man on a mission, possibly another MVP. And, yeah, man, the Bucks. That's my team to come out of this whole thing.
I agree with the 5. I have them in different order. I think it's Lakers, Clippers, Bucks as the top 3.
Agreed. Lakers won. I said it last week.
Yeah, that's how I think it is.
Well, this isn't your gentleman's power ranking now, is it?
That's
This
true.
is Eddie's.
This is true.
That's right, yeah.
This is true.
We're just having a discussion.
Which brings us to mine.
That's the truth. Truth.
Yes. All right. So for you guys today, I have the UFC current pound-for-pound rankings. Now, this is my pound-for-pound rankings, not what's on their website. There are obviously a couple of names in there that are going to be the same, but these are what I feel are the names right now. Number 5, Justin Gaethje. This guy's on a roll. He's 22-2. His only 2 losses are to Eddie Alvarez and who else beat him? Dustin Poirier, was it?
Yeah, Poirier.
The guy's on a roll. He just demolished Tony Ferguson, who many said was like the best in the world. I got Justin Gaethje, number 5. Number 4 is actually a tie. I couldn't really decide, so I'm just going to say it's a tie. It's between Israel Adesanya and Stipe Miocic, both of which are complete monsters. Israel, he's beating everybody. His next big fight they're going to be announcing something soon. I mean, he's a young up-and-comer. A lot of people think he's the next Anderson Silva, who he beat. Obviously, he wasn't in his prime when he beat him, but there's a lot of room for improvement, but the guy is on a roll. You can't even deny his talent right now. Number 3, I have Daniel Cormier. I believe that Daniel Cormier will always go down in history as one of the greatest combat sports fighters in the world. Between the Olympics, his wrestling, he was the Strikeforce Heavyweight Grand Prix champion, which he wasn't even supposed to be. I mean, the guy was incredible. What, Gary? What was that face for?
Eddie's chug.
Oh, okay. All right. No problem. I do making commentary about
my pick.
No.
I agree with what you're saying right now.
Yeah, DC. I mean, his only loss was to John Jones. The second one got overturned because Jones got popped. And his other loss was Stipe. So I honestly think DC is one of the best ever. Number 2, Khabib Nurmagomedov. This guy is unbeatable. You can make your faces, but
no, I'm trying to figure out. Okay.
No one's gonna beat him. No one's gonna beat him. We have yet to see his chin get tested, though. That's why he's not my number one. And I feel like once he gets in there with Justin, if Justin can withstand the takedown shots and everything, and he could actually tag Khabib, we're going to see what that chin's made of. But until then, I mean, the guy used to wrestle bears when he was a kid. He's a beast. Number one, pound for pound, Amanda Nunes.
Of course.
Listen, she's the GOAT. She's been tested. She's been hit by Cyborg. I mean, she's been in there with the best of them. She beat Holly Holm. She beat Ronda Rousey. She beat Cyborg. I don't see her losing ever, honestly. I think she's gonna retire on top, and that's my list. Now, the only reason I didn't include Jones and Cejudo because these are current fighters. Cejudo is quote unquote retired. Jones vacated the belt. These are the current pound for pound rankings, in my opinion.
Where would you have put Jones?
That's tough because obviously I got to put bias aside. He would probably be. He'd probably be number 3 for me. He would, and then DC would get bumped to 4th. But I still have Amanda and Khabib in front of him.
I think those top 3, if you put, no matter what order those.
Either or.
But you know what it is though. Jones, he's looked very beatable in recent years.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I mean, he didn't run through OSP when he made his big comeback like everyone thought he would. He didn't run through Anthony Smith and Thiago Santos.
His best fight was DC.
Yeah, and Dominic Reyes, arguably beat him. So he's not number 1 for me anymore. But there we have it.
Not bad, brother. Not bad.
I like that list.
Thank you.
Solid list. So the next up, I got baseball. The power rankings, the top 5 teams in MLB right now, if the season were to start today. So for my number 5, I have the Minnesota Twins. I'm gonna go with them. They were nicknamed the Bombers last year. They had the most home runs. They were hitting a ton of home runs. They added Josh Donaldson to their lineup this year. They're a very sneaky move to an already stacked lineup. They still have pitching questions, but with Berrios as your ace, can't ask for a better ace right there. Number 4. I have the Houston Astros at number 4. They dropped down.
What an unbiased choice.
It's very unbiased. And even though I hate the Astros, I'm putting them number 4, mostly because they lost their ace, Garrett Cole. Justin Verlander is another year older, and he did show, signs of wearing out in the playoffs last year. I'm not convinced on their pitching staff right now. They still have the elite lineup. They still have a ton of great hitters. I'm not questioning their hitting, but their pitching I'm not sold on right now. But they are still a solid team. Hopefully they don't have to cheat this year. But number 3, I'm going with the Atlanta Braves. I love this team. I love Ronald Acuna. I love Freddie Freeman. They signed Marcell Ozuna as well to add to their lineup. They still have an elite starting pitching too with Soroka.
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah.
Forgot about a lot of these moves.
A lot of these moves are forgotten about because the offseason's been going on since freaking November.
That's crazy.
So that's number 3, the Atlanta Braves. Number 2, unfortunately, I'm going to have to put the New York Yankees at number 2. And the reason why –
very professional pick right there, Pete.
The reason why I'm putting them at 2, because this power rankings is current as of today if the season were to start. Considering the Yankees don't have one of their best pitchers, Luis Severino, for all of this season, that puts them a step down from the Dodgers at number 1. With Severino, you can make the case that the Yankees are number 1. With Garrett Cole, Severino, Paxton, Tanaka, and then the 5th spot could go to Montgomery or Happ or whoever wants, or even Domingo Germán when he comes back. If they had Severino healthy this year, I would really consider putting the Yankees at number 1. But right now they're number 2. And also, they have the elite starting lineup. I'm not questioning that. Gleyber Torres is entering his prime. Very excited to see him.
Best bullpen in baseball.
And not to mention the best elite bullpen in all of baseball, hands down. Number 1, I'm giving it to the Los Angeles Dodgers. They were already an elite team. They added Mookie Betts, one of the best hitters and fielders in all of baseball. Not to mention they had, not even mentioning Cody Bellinger and the rest of them. They also had 2 very exciting prospects come up last year, Gavin Lux and Will Smith. Their future is very bright. Julio Urias in the starting rotation, add him onto that as well. He's going to be elite very soon. They're the best overall team in baseball as long as they stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean,
healthy's key, man.
Adding the second best player in baseball to that team is just unfair. And they always have good prospects. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy how many crazy good prospects they've always had. Man.
It's unbelievable. There's reason, you know what's crazy? If baseball doesn't happen, they might not. Betts might not play an inning with the Dodgers. That's just crazy.
That would shake up my power rankings big time. If the season gets canceled this year, Betts doesn't even play an inning with the Dodgers. Now I might be putting the Yankees over them because when the season starts next year, the Yankees are going to have a full healthy team. So
we just need baseball. I'm up. I'm going football. I got football. That looks like the sport that's probably going to watch all this mess happen with all these other sports and just come back. It's crazy when
they lucked out the best.
They did, and of course, football, the number one sport in America, is going to get them lucked out. I got Seattle at number 5. One of the best quarterbacks in football, Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Really good defense. Yeah, the weapons, they have a lot of weapons on offense. Pete Carroll's a great coach. I don't like their play calling. They run the ball a little too much. Let Russell Wilson fling it.
I agree.
But, yeah. Number 4, I have Tampa Bay. Skeptical about them, to say the least. But the thing about Tampa Bay is they have a very underrated defense. And you're adding Tom Brady, who's to go to that. Now, Tom Brady's they were 7-9 last year. Tom Brady's just a little bit better than Jameis Winston. They're a playoff team. I also think New Orleans is going to fall a little bit, not to mention all stuff with TVs. I think last year was like their last good year. I think a lot going on with that team, so they're going to fall out. But Tampa Bay's got weapons all over. You're adding Gronk to that with O.J. Howard, Mike Evans, Godwin. They're stacked. Their running backs are going to be better this year. Number 3, I have San Francisco. They could be number 2 if it wasn't for Jimmy G, but they got an elite defense. I love every move they made this offseason. Their draft was great. So I got San Francisco adding on to a already stacked team. Number 2, the Baltimore Ravens. Had a great draft. They lost a couple pieces on the defensive end, but they had Calais Campbell. Lamar Jackson, MVP coming back. I just loved what they did in the draft. I said it. I put it on my Spin Sports. They had a great draft, Baltimore, and I just think they're going to be really good this year. But they're not going to be good as number 1, Kansas City Chiefs with Patty Mahomes. Best quarterback and best player in football. He showed it last year coming in with that Super Bowl. They added with some great draft. The running back they drafted at LSU. I just think, especially this year, there's not going to be a lot of OTAs this year, so it's good the camaraderie they have. They have Patty Mahomes healthy, ready to go with Andy Reid. They're number 1, the Super Bowl champs.
Going back to the Tampa Bay had one of the worst defensive last year.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
No.
Oh, no way.
No, look up the numbers. Look up the numbers.
Bro, the numbers.
The points
whole
were.
story, man. Like,
Points. Look it up, bro. Everybody, look it up. That's your homework from this.
Eddie was too focused on Mike Evans last year. He couldn't notice the defense.
The reason why, the only thing that was bad about Tampa Bay's defense was the points they gave up because Jameis threw so many interceptions. But they had probably a top 5 run defense last year. They had a really solid defense.
Run defense. They had a very good run defense. Correct.
Yes, but again,
I remember
Jameis threw all those interceptions. Their defense was put in bad situations. So Tampa Bay very underrated. But guys, listen, what games are starting soon? We're gonna all have our opinions more on every other sport. We're gonna post it on all our social media platforms, all our power rankings, so you can get every sport from the 4 of us. This is just a little taste of what we're gonna see with us. So I'm really excited for sports to start and for us to give these power rankings to you guys. I know that's what everybody loves to do on Monday and Tuesdays, looking up for NFL, NBA, MLB, MMA, pound for pound, always argued. So that's a big thing for us. Before we get to the core 4 coming up next, we're going to go through a couple other quick things that are going on around the sports world right after this. All right, guys, welcome back. Before we get started with the core 4, we're going to talk about WWE Backlash from last night. So, Brian, talk about it.
Yeah, so we don't talk about wrestling nearly enough on this podcast as I feel we should, especially considering the fact that since coronavirus, COVID-19, the China virus, however you want to recall it, it's been going on nonstop. They haven't stopped. And it doesn't get talked about enough. I know UFC was, praised for coming back, the first sport back, but WWE wrestling never left. They never did, and I certainly applaud them for that. But last night we had WWE's Backlash pay-per-view. Very quickly, I'm going to run down the results, what I liked, what I didn't. Bayley and Sasha Banks, they retained the women's tag titles over the Iconics and Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss. It was a good match, but it's pretty predictable. Sheamus defeated Jeff Hardy, and it was a rough match to watch. I'm not going to lie. Sheamus looked like he was a little too rough, a little stiff. It wasn't the best match. There were a couple of botched spots, but the storyline's good. The storyline definitely matters. They're doing the whole thing with Jeff Hardy taking drug tests, and they're touching on his real life incidents of alcoholism and being addicted to drugs. It's kind of brings me back to when they did that with Scott Hall years ago in the 90s, which is cool, but not cool at the same time. But as long as Jeff is cool with it, I guess we should be too. Asuka and Nia Jax, it was double count out. What are you going to do? They're just going to continue the feud. Braun Strowman retained the Universal title against The Miz and Morrison in a 2-on-1 handicap match. It was interesting.
What a surprise there, man.
Yeah, it was interesting. I feel like they could have done a little more. And in Miz and Morrison, they debuted their new music video, which I think was hilarious. Next up, we had Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. Drew, he retained. It was actually a pretty decent match, considering.
Wasn't that bad. Wasn't bad at all.
No, you would think it would be like, two muscle guys, be stiff, but no, it was actually a pretty good match. Now, the main event. I want to talk about this. This is being touted and advertised as the greatest wrestling match ever. That's what they advertised this whole pay-per-view as. Randy Orton and Edge, two guys who have been doing this for years, which is hard to believe because, they were young guys when we were watching, and we remember when they debuted, but now they're considered veterans. And it was a very, very good match. Was it the greatest wrestling match of all time? No, it was not. But it was very good, and there were a lot of things that I liked. I'm not sure if, Gary, you saw the match. But you got to go back and watch the whole thing. There were some pretty cool things, especially with the intro. They had old, Charles Robinson, Lil Nate, as the referee with the old light baby blue referee shirt with the bow tie.
I saw the
also
thing.
Loved the MSG.
Yes, the MSG microphone came down. They did some really, really cool things, different camera angles with this match. Mm-hmm. Fantastic storytelling on both parts. But the big news coming out of that match is now Edge is supposedly injured. He tore a tricep, which really sucks because he just came back, after 9 years. He retired, and now he's injured again. He's going to be out for a little bit more, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, at least it's nothing to do with his neck or spine.
Yeah, it's not life-threatening, obviously, but it just, it stinks all around to see a guy come back after 9 years. Now he's going to be sidelined again. But we'll see what happens. And now
so much for an Edge and Christian reunion anytime soon.
Well, we'll see what happens. Tonight they're advertising on Raw. Something unexpected is going to happen. So we'll see.
The Brood comes back with one of the greatest theme songs of all time.
Yeah, definitely. But that was it. And I think now, what's that smell? Do I smell Core 4?
Oh,
time for the Core 4.
Oh, let's do this, man. Let's do it.
Gary, what's today's Core 4?
All right, so we all love this. Obviously, it's a sports podcast. So, but one thing we all do is we love going to these events live. So, and that's one thing that's taken away from us, not going to Yankee games, MMA events, basketball, just not being there and experiencing it live and seeing it live. So today what we're going to talk about is the best parts about going to a live sporting event. No matter what the sport, no matter what it is, just the best part about going. So that's today's Core 4. So, Pete, bring up Eddie's favorite thing in the randomizer.
You know the deal.
This is probably the greatest feud of 2020 so far, Eddie versus the randomizer.
Oh, definitely.
Oh my God, man. Absolutely.
This is on the first page of 2020.
All right, first pick, you got Gary. Second pick, Brian. Third pick, me. And last pick, Eddie.
Wow. This is impressive.
Wow.
Eddie's at half mast right now.
Wow.
Good show, Gary.
Shout out to random.org.
Oh, no.
You hated them 2 weeks ago.
All is forgiven.
I
All
think
right,
it's-
yeah.
All right. My first pick is the atmosphere of a live event. Just
Damn you, Gary.
being there and just the people, and especially like when it's like a big moment or just a big moment in the game or a big fight or a big. It's just the atmosphere, the people, the electricity. It's just nothing like going to a big game or just a game in general. Go to a Yankee game, even when it's the first inning and bases loaded, the crowd's still jumping. So there's nothing like the atmosphere, interacting with everybody around you. It's just you can't describe it. It's just electric. It gives you an adrenaline rush. So that's my first pick, the atmosphere.
All right. I'm pretty sure that was on everyone's list. But
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very true, though. It's definitely true. The
Realistic.
atmosphere,
Yeah.
the ambiance of,
Yeah,
everything. That's what I would use. But, all right. For my first pick, I'm going to say the tailgating.
That
Ooh.
was my first pick, man.
Sorry. But, and this doesn't go for, people assume tailgating, it's like, oh, it's like a football thing. And that is so far from the truth, it is not even funny. Me and Eddie, Big Eddie P, last year at WrestleMania had one of the best times tailgating, watching a literal parking lot brawl with people, fans going through tables, beers flying everywhere. It was one of the greatest times ever. And, you got food, you got drinks. You get
Sounds like the Bills
up.
Mafia.
it was pretty close, but it's a combination of everything: the food, the drinks. You're getting all riled up for the event, whatever it may be. You're in good company. Most of the time, you go with your friends. You're meeting other fans of the sport or whatever it may be. So I gotta say tailgating.
Also, what the biggest tailgating game to play is? Cornhole.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's Brian's personal favorite.
You didn't even mention the best part about tailgating, the barbecuing.
I said food and drinks.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Pete was just so angry you took that. So
I know.
Sorry.
right.
He put it in a generalized term for you.
I knew that this is going to be a list where a lot of things are going to be taken early on, so I had to get the big one out there.
Now, this is going to be interesting for what Eddie thinks, because Eddie likes to take his best thing first, so.
You can't forget the burgers, man. Tailgating burgers.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I got to go with one of the best things about going to a sporting event, or more specifically a baseball game, is the beer. The alcohol, beer, drinking the beer, man.
Oh, there goes my 4.
And just to clarify for a certain fan of the show, when I'm going to Yankee Stadium, I'm buying a Blue Moon, not a Stella.
Not a Stella.
Not a female. I am a male. I drink Blue Moon.
Now, time out now, man. Let's not generalize the beers now, man. Like, come on, man. There's nothing wrong with Stella.
Just look at
Shout
the
out
name.
to that
Stella.
one fan of the show.
It's feminine.
Listen, if you're gonna say it like that, you have to say the whole thing. Stella Artois, man.
That makes it sound even more feminine.
It
Sounds
makes the
exquisite.
$14 worth it, though, man.
Listen,
Like,
it's my fiance's favorite beer, if that says anything.
That says enough right there.
The
That
fun
says
is
enough.
when we all go to a game and you accumulate the beers as the game goes along and just see them going. So it's like a real thing of a
You ever see the cup snake at the XFL games?
What?
You never seen that?
No.
Oh my God! Everyone who drinks a beer after they're finished with the cup, they pile the cups into each other,
Okay.
and there's a huge snake of cups that go like rows and rows beyond. It's incredible.
We should try it if we ever go back to Yankee Stadium.
Sure.
Yeah, man. The beer, just having the beer on a nice hot summer day. Yankee Stadium, you can't beat that.
no matter how dehydrated you get underneath that freaking hot ass sun, man, a beer can always.
An ice cold
It's always a good pick, brother. I guess it's my turn. I go twice on this one. Things I missed at a sporting event. How about the actual game itself, man?
Shit.
Oh,
That was on mine too.
I mean,
shit.
damn it, man. And we are going through some heavy withdrawals as far as this sports thing is concerned right now, man. I'll take anything. For God's sakes, it's safe to say a lot of us in here have actually watched reruns of the Spelling Bee on ESPN a couple weeks ago, man. Like,
I still can't spell after watching that.
That's feel bad for you,
Yeah, I
Gary.
spelled it.
Spell red.
But yeah, fellas, the actual game, man. I miss it the most, man. I really do.
Yeah, touche.
Best.
For my second go around, I'm not. Well, I'm gonna rephrase this one though. I'm gonna go with the fandom, just the camaraderie, man. Like the fandom, not specific. Like you know how Gary generalized it before with atmosphere. I mean, the fans make the game, man. Like it really does, man. Like you know, and it's always just great being in an arena or a stadium with 50,000 people all sharing something of the same interests. I mean, it unites all of us, bro. Like, there's no other way to put it, man. But
It's a
I'm
great
gonna
point.
go with the fandom.
That's a great pick, Eddie. But it's annoying when they do the wave for the 20th time in Yankee Stadium. Like,
First of all, you shouldn't do the wave in Yankee Stadium.
exactly.
You shouldn't do the wave if you're enjoying the event. It's like, it's because you're bored. That's
Abolish the wave.
2020. That's the new movement.
Abolish the wave.
That's the gentleman movement right now.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, so I'm back. All right.
Oh, I thought that was your pick. You hate the wave.
No. That's an honorary mention, but
okay.
I'm gonna go with. Considering my first pick was drinking beer or alcohol, it leads into my second pick, which is heckling the opposing team.
Oh, good one. Good.
You know, you're at a Yankee game. They're playing the Astros. They're playing the Red Sox. They're playing the Mets. Whoever the hell they're playing, you're going to get on that other team's case. You're going to try to get in their head. You're going to try to give the Yankees an advantage and show your support for the home team. And a lot of good can come from it, you know. Me personally, I almost got thrown out of Yankee Stadium once, as I told you guys, but I won the game for the Yankees. So it worked out.
There you go.
Everything happens for a reason, man.
Yeah.
All right. Am I next, right? Second pick. For my next pick, this is a tough one. But I'm going to have to say, which is kind of weird, but the overpriced food.
Damn it, another one on my list.
You enjoy it more.
That's the thing. But not only that, like, especially depending on where you go, what arena, what stadium. Like MetLife Stadium, their food is ridiculous. MetLife Stadium's great. The Barclays Center has some good stuff too. But like the big stadiums, big arenas, it doesn't even matter that it's overpriced. When you go to a game, you know for a fact you're going to be spending $8 on a bottle of water, $13 on a beer. You know, you expect that. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it well, and you get some good food. So that's my next pick.
It's funny. I've gone to a bunch of baseball games and games outside of New York, and it's not like the prices are different, but the different food you get to taste. It's good. Like in Baltimore, they have barbecue and all that. It's really good. But with the first one I'm going to take is the chance to be at a game where something special happens, and you're there for that. That is just really like. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good
unbelievable. Like either it's a playoff game or if it's like you're witnessing like
no hitter.
Yeah, like how me and Pete did in Chicago that time. You just never know what's gonna happen at a game, and you could be there for it. That's really cool.
Or when we were there for Didi's Grand Slam last playoff.
Oh my God, the stadium. It doesn't justify.
I forgot you guys went to that game, man.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Eddie, we want you to come, man. I think you were working.
Damn it, but I had to work, man.
And the second one is my third pick. Just when you're at a game, you see stuff you don't see on TV. Like very simple, like adjustments on the field and stuff like that, like bullpen. Like that's I'm always watching like other little things like that, like the way the players are or positioning and stuff like that. No matter the sport, the benches and all that. So like you get to see stuff you don't see on TV. So that's really cool. That's when you're there. That's a fun experience of it too.
Good picks. My third pick. I'm going to say it's when you're either your favorite team, whoever you're rooting for, your favorite fighter, your favorite wrestler, whatever you're going there to see, when they win, that's what makes it. I mean, that's why you go. You want to go to show support for whatever team. And it
everybody
just makes it,
as a group.
It makes it that much sweeter when they actually win.
Good one, man. Great one.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
So for my third pick,
Eddie's excited about that pick.
I'm going to go with the possibility of meeting players or fighters while you're at the event.
Somebody in this podcast thrives off that.
Well, I mean, I know when I go to a Yankee game, a baseball game, I like to get there super early, possibly watch some batting practice, get down to the field, possibly meet a player, get an autograph, catch a ball, something like that.
Remember when we went to the playoff game? We got there for Yankee batting practice. How great that was.
Yeah, it was awesome, man. I mean, what's the point of going to a game if you're not getting there early?
Mm-hmm.
And even with like a UFC event or MMA event, you get there early, you get to see fighters walking around the stadium or afterwards as well. It's
Clay Guida just sit there.
At a random bar before the event.
Yeah.
But yeah, the possibility of meeting a player or a fighter at the
That's
event.
a great one. It's a real good one, man.
Absolutely.
It's a real good one. I guess it's my turn, and I go double the action on this one. I'm going to go with just going to a sporting event and seeing a blown call from whoever the official is, man. Blown calls are always vital in sporting events, man. It riles you the hell up, man. Like, yo, good or bad, whether it's your team, whichever one, man. Like, yo, you can make your case, man.
That's your favorite part about going to a game is to see.
No, I mean,
it's blown call.
man.
I understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
It adds a little more excitement, a little more to the game.
You know what the fun part about it is when nobody actually sees the call and we're all just mad together because it didn't go their team's way.
That too, man. Yeah.
Well, yeah, when you're there live, you don't have the luxury of seeing 70 different camera angles or an instant replay. So you don't know what the hell's going on half the time.
You're just getting angry.
You just go with the flow, man. You just go with the flow, man.
Yeah.
And, blown calls. And I'm not sure if I should keep this one as a notable for later, but
Hey, this is your last pick. Make it count.
I
That's pick
understand.
number one, though.
Listen, my opinion, any sporting event starts with the pregame, man. So I think I'm going to go with the pre-gaming ritual for this
Isn't
one.
Isn't that like a tailgate?
Tailgate.
Yeah. He always does this. He always puts a little.
It's a little twist to it, though.
Wait, so
No,
you're saying
hold
you're
on.
saying before
Where?
the tailgating, you pregame.
Listen,
Where does the pre-gaming take place?
At home.
yeah.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Yeah. From
Oh,
home,
pre-gaming before you leave the house.
Yeah. Before
Oh, okay,
the-
that's fine. That's different. That's different.
It's the
man,
pregame before the pregame before the game.
There you go, man. Yo, it's like WWE with all these kickoff shows. You
It's
just have
pre-tailgating.
exactly, man. Pre-tailgate, man.
All right.
So
All right.
I'm gonna go with that.
I'll take it. We'll accept it.
As long as you believe it, Eddie.
That's all that matters.
So for my last pick, I'm gonna go with just making random friends or enemies at the event.
Yes.
Mhm.
You
Those are great.
Especially when like after a big moment, a big home run, you just turn around to the random guy next to you and you give him a hug, you give him a pound. You don't know who the hell he is,
Yeah.
but you're making friends with him. Or on the contrary, you make an enemy like I did again during that Didi Gregorius game last year, Gary. I said the Yankees weren't bringing Didi back, and I got hit by some girl because she was mad about that. She punched.
By the way, you
Whoa! This is the first time I'm hearing about.
Wait,
this.
before
What
Pete
happened?
gets into this, I'm defending Pete right now. I want to find this person. I hope you're watching this. And you need to apologize to Pete.
Yeah,
Because
man.
You were very angry and violent towards him for the rest of that fucking game. It wasn't very nice, all right? You're not a nice person. He was telling the truth, and he wasn't even speaking to you. He was speaking to me. Mind your business.
Mind your business, man.
Thank you, Gary.
And Pete, also, when me, you, and Justin went to the game and the guy was yelling at Castillo, we became friends with that guy.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
I gotta say that's actually a really, really good pick.
Yeah,
That's a very good pick.
you
It's
make
a great fourth pick.
you make random friends and random enemies at events. You never know who it's going to be.
It's
It's-
absolutely true. One of my best friends, Curtis, I actually met from meeting UFC fighters and stuff like that. So
Curtis
it's
Blades?
definitely true. Not Curtis Blades, different Curtis. But no, that's actually a very good pick.
Thank you.
For my last pick, which is actually my last pick, it's number 4. I'm gonna say, wherever you go, whether it's a game, a fight, cornholing, whatever the case may be, when you buy some merchandise, you get to bring home Whether it's a T-shirt, a hat, a collectible cup, to prove your fandom.
You were there. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that's really important. It's something. It's something so simple as a ticket stub. Something tangible besides memories to show that you had a good time. You were there. So yeah, I'm gonna say merchandise.
Gary, don't you buy the yearbook every game you go to, or the program or whatever?
At the first game, okay, I got a system. At the first game I go to every year, I buy the yearbook and the program. And every game I go to, I buy the program. That's my system, man.
Yeah, it's just there's got to be a ritual. Like I used to get the programs every UFC. They don't do them anymore.
Yeah, I just enjoy just sitting there. I used to, when I was younger, actually do the scorecards.
The scorecards?
Yeah, now I can't.
That takes so long.
I know.
It's just so tedious.
I know, but now I can't. Now I just can't.
You want to enjoy the game.
Yeah, no, I'm also a drunken mess. Speaking of drunken messes, my last pick is seeing that funny drunk guy at a game. Those guys, there's always that one guy that drinks a little too much and probably doesn't know what the hell is going on, but makes an ass out of himself. He's doing random stuff. One day I went to a game and some guy just kept cheering Rusev Day when I was at the game. And people didn't even know what the hell he was saying, but the bleachers in Yankee Stadium were cheering Rusev Day because this one drunk guy. And then he was pretending he was John Sterling and Susan Waltman. So there's always that one drunk guy, and he's always there. He makes your section.
There's Gary.
No, that's not Gary. That's a random drunk guy without a shirt on in the middle of Yankee Stadium.
But see, you have those guys there who, even if it's a tense moment of the game like we enjoy, he makes it a little fun. He's just the life of the game in that section at that point. But he has a peak. He maxes out, and then he just vanishes or he gets arrested. So that guy's my MVP.
That's another good pick. And I have a story. I have a story that's like funny like that.
Oh man, dude.
Going back to SummerSlam 2018 at the Barclays Center, I ended up getting the 4-ticket weekend pass for all 4 shows: NXT, SmackDown, Raw, and SummerSlam. And one of the nights I was going solo. So I went to McMahon's Bar, which is right near Barclays Center.
Yeah, right the street.
Yeah, and right before every wrestling event there, that place is the place to be. They're playing like old Attitude Era music on the speakers. Yeah. They're playing matches, great food, great drinks. So I'm in there, and I end up meeting this guy. He was a cool guy, whatever, he's funny. So he goes to the show as well, but we're not sitting near each other. And I'm in the show, and all of a sudden there's a commotion not too far from where I'm standing, and I'm seeing this guy getting dragged out by his feet, and it was a big shit show. I look back at the videos on Facebook. It was all over social media. It was the guy that I had met who was like crotch chopping the camera and flipping everybody off, and he was a drunken mess. And it was just the funniest thing seeing him getting kicked out.
It shows my theory. He's a funny guy, but he has a little peak. He
peeks
up, and then that's it. So that just bad at games.
Very funny.
I just need what's being at events and just watching.
Speaking of drunken idiotnesses at games, man. Shout out to Robbie Burch, man. I will never forget that game, man. I will never forget that.
Is that with the spitting birds?
Oh man. It was a debacle, man. Yo.
Oh, man.
Shout out to Grey Goose as well, man. It just doesn't mix well.
Does anybody have any honorable mentions? I feel like we hit everything.
I think we hit.
I had a very general, vague one. It's just like the love / support / repping of your team. Like just, represent them being there. But that was about it.
I was going to say the smell.
Of what?
Being at a game, yeah. There is a distinct funk.
There is Yankee Stadium.
Yankee Stadium smells like Yankee Stadium, man. You can't describe it.
Yeah, it's true. It's a different breed, man.
Eddie, what is the Barclays Center?
Or even going to the bathrooms over there.
Vinny Mac. Something Vinny Mac.
The John Sterling over here.
Oh, all right.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a good point, Eddie. They have the radio broadcast in the bathroom.
That's right.
John Sterling.
But it never syncs with the TV also when you go get food.
It does.
But yeah, that was a good one.
That was a good core 4.
Good core 4. So guys, this is the episode this week. Remember to like, follow, subscribe. Brian's been pumping that Facebook page. He just started the Instagram, the Twitter. The Twitter always has had a few sneaky gems on there. So always keep track of the Twitter. And Eddie, do you want to plug your Twitter real quick?
At Eddie Roldan 2. That's all I'm saying, man.
2, not 1. Not 1.
Number 2.
So that the
Don't
person
ask me who number one is, man. I'm two, man. Like,
you're invited on the podcast. We can hash this out. But guys.
Well, yeah. So like Gary said, like, share, enjoy, and also next episode we're going to be talking about the upcoming UFC card.
Yeah.
You guys are not going to want to miss this. We already had Curtis Blades on last week. He's going to be fighting in the main event, and we're going to be talking about the card, breaking it down, saying who we like, who we don't.
Yep.
And
guys, if you like we did with our power rankings, you want to comment, give us yours. Also, give some core 4 suggestions, or give us some suggestions to talk about. We have 3-4 weeks before sports comes back, so help us out. Help us fill these episodes out. But
yeah, buddy.
Guys, thank you for watching, and remember, we are the gentlemen.
This is the podcast.
Eddie, where's Stephanie McMahon, by the way?
That's why I haven't positioned this.
No, I don't like it like this.
I don't like it like
Wait.
this.
Eddie, you picked Eddie Roldan number 2 because you always get the
I didn't
second
pick
pick.
it.
You always get second pick in the core 4.
Oh, it all makes sense now.
Oh man,
Second pick in the core 4, man.
I don't know who lucky number 1 is, man, but it's not me.
We're gonna find out. We're gonna find
They're
out.
invited on the pod.
Gotta crack down on this, man.
Peace out, guys.
Yo, from the start, I'ma finish it. Yo, and from the start, I'ma finish it. Cause I'm a running man on a mission. From the start, I'ma finish it.